Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Starbase friends around the world. Astro Joe here for RGV Aerial Photography, Starbase Weekly, episode 123. Got some awesome photos taken just yesterday. I'll pass it on over to your host, Stephanie.
G'day from Australia. Welcome to RGV Aerial Photography live stream. We've got a few commentators with us today. We've got Lawrence. G'day, Lawrence.
Good day, Steph, and good day, everybody out there. Glad to be here, and I'll pass it on over to our next commentator, Todd.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me again. This is going to be a really good one. I know we got some great pictures. Show and tell yesterday was amazing. Can't wait to get into it, and I'll pass it over to Ryan.
Hello everyone, I'm joining yet again for another week, beginning to get deja vu, but it's good to keep up to date with all the changes here happening at Starbase with every single one of the flyovers we have. So as mentioned, we've got a lot of changes to go over to today, so I'll pass it back to Stephanie.
All right, thanks everyone. Let's start over at Massey's. Just find Massey's 1 second. Okay. Now, last week we saw the house had disappeared. Now they've made it all nice and gravel and a new water tank. We didn't see this in the show and tell. Okay, we'll start up at the far end once again. There's not a lot to report this week. They still haven't hooked up this last heat exchanger. They seem to have a trailer here. I believe that's to do with water filtration. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Perhaps we're getting the water out of the trench. Interestingly, there's a whole lot of rust on this output here. So there's been some kind of muck getting pushed out of the pipework there. Not sure what's going on there. We've got this little gravel pit over here they haven't seemed to have done much with for the locks from the engine chill. And there's still a little bit of water in the bottom of the trench there. So they have been, it seems to be going down, so perhaps they are pumping water out now finally.
I found it odd that they kind of left that in there for so long. I would have expected them to get that out. So I wonder if something didn't work properly to drain it, or if they weren't ready for it. But I just wouldn't expect them to leave it sitting that long.
Yeah, they may have been waiting for that filtration trailer so they could pump it out and get everything cleaned up.
This is a better photo. We've got the access ladder down into the, I think the platform's beside the flame bucket there. I think this is a better photo.
These low level flight, this low level picture, I believe he said we were 2,600 feet. Some of the lowest pictures we've gotten of Massey's, and the detail is amazing how much we can see now. You can see all the way through to the other side, the light to the other side, the hydraulic pump there that we were looking at the other day. That's very clear. We can trace some of those lines. So these low pictures are just amazing.
Yeah, we believe from looking around that this hydraulic pump is fed into these lines going up here and along and further over, and are more than likely to do with activating this platform here. So somehow this platform is hydraulically driven to come across the trench here, and we believe this is the system for that. We can trace some of these pipes here, which is awesome, like this water tank here comes along. We've traced this water pipe from that tank, goes up, and we understand that goes to a fire system, perhaps onto the stand through here, or even just around off the stand. Yes, you're right, so incredible detail in some of these photos. Yuck, that looks all yucky.
Yeah, that's the only place where those what look like purge valves appear to be, right, on that piping. They don't have them over each one. Is that correct?
Correct. They only need one on this high pressure manifold side. I mean, the water side, sorry. So this would be. Oh, we can actually see right under here as well with this plumbing here. I think this is the first time we've seen actually under here. Let me see if I can get another one of that. Maybe that one.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
This is the first time we've actually been able to see where that lower pipe actually plumbs into the tank.
Oh, now I can see it. There it is. There's the end of one pipe. I was wondering what was happening just here, but I can see now there's an end cap there. Comes through all the manifolds, through the heat exchangers to gasify the liquid nitrogen to pressurize the main tanks. So once the system's running, it's continuous. There may be something like this tanks here to get the system actually up and running, because somehow they need somehow for the water to flow through here to get the gas, to push the water to get the gas. It's like a cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, prime the pumps or prime the system first.
As much the great work some of our 3D and hydraulic cars had done putting this together. I understood how it worked, but seeing that pipe now underneath there, it really clears it up in my mind. I'm a very visual person with how I deduce things and how they work, but that pipe has just really opened it up for me. And it's like, oh, that's it. I get it now.
There's some nice close-ups of the flame trench. I think this one's a good one. Oh, maybe that one. There we can see concrete underneath. We can't quite see the supply pipes. So already by now the supply pipes are underneath the concrete, as you would expect, I guess. You wouldn't want the flames getting to them. Oh, that's interesting. There's something in there. That's like a formwork just sitting in there. That's
I wonder
interesting.
if that is maybe a lid for that box that we see down there.
Okay, that's a good point. Let me see if I can see down in the trench here. We're talking about this box over. Oh, not quite. Hang on. I can't quite find it. There's a box over on this side here. That's a good point, Ryan.
Yeah, it's just past the end of the bucket portion. So yeah, we would need an angle that's a little further away. Might not have the right altitude and angle this week.
A lot of this low flying image for the really high definition photos, yeah. But in previous weeks, we've seen a square box here on the side of the plane bucket. Nice details. Okay, anything else for the plane trench area between yous? I think a thing to note, I think we noticed last week, they're putting brackets on this test stand for the hatchback engines.
To support the fairings, is that right?
It supports the bells for the hatchback engines because
Yeah,
they
sorry, not fairings, the bells.
really don't like being fired at sea level. So they put a nice big ring around the bottom of the bell and bolt the ring into the stand. We saw that on the suborbital pad B stand. Do you remember the suborbital pad B?
Which is now becoming orbital pad B.
Obviously, they've laid down all the cranes. I'll just do this centre section for 1 second. So yeah, like I said earlier, the house, this whole block has been tidied up. Last week we saw some footings dug in here. So you can still see the heavier footings in here. And we've got some spots for some posts to go on.
Yeah, it looks like they're continuing to do a lot of cleanup, so it's less dirt and more concrete and solid surfaces.
Once again, from the lower altitude, it's a much clearer image. Much better. There's a ram now. I think we saw this last week, perhaps, a ram in this testing device. Okay, ship 31. We saw Sparky. We saw it's moved off to Mega Bay 2. It's now currently in the front right-hand corner of Mega Bay 2. Guess it's there to weather the storm.
While it was at Massey's, it did cryo, and I believe they also started exercising a lot of the flaps there, running through a couple different routines. So it's likely they were exercising all of the different electrical systems, verifying that they're all kind of working after the incident that they had a couple of months ago now, I believe.
Yes, a Sparky incident. So we can see here they've cleaned it up very well. I think it was about here was the flames came out, somewhere over here, just here somewhere. All the charred areas have been cleaned up, and the new aero cover's been put on top. The raceway cover, sorry. When it came out, rolled out, we noticed all the covers were off, and now they're all back on again. So they must have put them back on once it got here. And it appears to have more sensors this time around. Not sure if that's anything to do with the last test or whether they just upgraded something.
Yeah, and we saw it actually do a full cryo test and then a partial the following night where it looked like it was doing the header takes.
Very good. So it's still on its shuck pucking stand in the Mega Bay 2. I'm not sure that means it's going to come back out again or whether they just haven't got the engine stand ready for it yet, but it still seems to be on its puck shucking stand. Careful how you say that. Okay, we'll move on. Oh, go on.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say they probably just wanted to get it out of the way of the storm that's approaching.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, we'll move on to the new test stand. And little bits and pieces are being added on around the place. This week we get a really good image of these clamps on the side here. Last week we saw them, but not quite in this detail. And I surmise that I'm guessing there's 5 of these parts of the cap which will perhaps have an actuator going down to those clamps on here. That gives them another flexibility, another height they can do tests at, and perhaps a different sort of test. And we have these rods here, which appear to have that square section on here. Man, that's a big nut, isn't it? Have these square sections on here, which seem to tie into these slots here, and you can see a square landing for them. So I'm guessing that they're replacing the cables with those solid rods, which once again also seem to be modular and can offer different lengths perhaps as well for different heights of test articles.
Yeah, in my opinion, it looks like the stand will be adjustable. So depending on how tall the test article is, they can adjust for whatever they need.
And now, Ryan, we all got excited thinking this may be the 35 engine park shucking thing. Can you enlighten me? Can you enlighten me again what you're telling me before?
Yeah, so I guess last week we saw there was a tarp covering this, and there was what looked like a structure had been placed on top of it, giving that pentagon look in the middle. And this week we can see the tarp is gone, and there are actually just some poles that they had stuck in those holes to maybe give some room to work in there. We're not really sure what they're doing. And either they were working in there, or maybe they didn't want water collecting on top of the tarp, so they were trying to give it a little bit of a roof. Yeah, so it's been kind of speculated this could be for 35 engines, given the number of locations, or I guess cylinders here, where you could mount something on top of. But this does look pretty similar to the floor that they had in the original Crusher. So it's not a dead giveaway. The spacing isn't right. We've measured the spacing for the engine nozzles, and it's not exactly correct. Doesn't necessarily mean that they can't, but the ring of 10, they wouldn't be able to basically push straight up on the puck if that's where the engine mounting locations would be for the pistons. So it looks as if this might just be a structure to make a concrete base, and then on top of that, they'll decide where they're going to put the rams. So it's not really an indicator that they are moving to 35 engines. It's just a structure that allows them to distribute the load throughout the structure and fill it with concrete.
Thank you very much.
And those poles look temporary, correct? They're just for the tarp only, right? They don't seem to be permanently mounted, right?
Yeah, they seem like maybe just conduit or pieces of scaffolding that they've put in there vertically. I don't think those are permanent.
Yeah, okay. Because one of the things that I had thought was maybe they will put some studs in there that can allow them to mount different floors on top of it for different situations, but we're not seeing anything like that yet. When I first saw the tent up, that's what I thought they might be doing, but okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Have this weird piece of steel in here. It appears to pivot here. It seems to be mounted on the actual ring, so perhaps that's something to help lift. It's a weird piece of lifting device. It's got quite a strange shape about it, but there it is.
Yeah,
And
this kind of reminds me of like engine lift, like you'll see for taking an engine out of a car. That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's a strange one. So a little bit more plumbing going on. There's some plumbing coming up the side here. I kind of imagine they may have been some kind of cryo or pressure. But Ryan, I think you might have an idea that it's more to do with hydraulics.
It's possible it could be hydraulics, depending on what they're trying to do. It is interesting that we can see the small pipe actually has a tee off at seemingly every level. Not exactly sure if that indicates anything, but yeah, there's a tee there, and then there's a tee here, which I think is also coming off a small pipe. But I don't see anything coming off a large pipe, but it could just be the angle that we're at with the flyover. But it's possible it could be hydraulic, it could be cryo. Not sure if it would necessarily be cryo or maybe just like a high pressure nitrogen. But yeah, it's a rather large pipe, given the way that it's sealed like that. It seems like it's going to be some fluid under pressure.
And generally, we haven't seen cryo or high pressure gas, delivered to a test article from above. It's normally delivered down here below.
Yeah, that was one reason why I thought that it might be for hydraulics. If they have any pistons higher up on the structure, you might want to have a hydraulic feed for those. But we'll just have to wait and see, I guess, where they end the hoses as they go up the side of the structure.
So there's going to be quite a few hydraulic actuators here. I mean, there's the ring of 20 down the bottom, but even up here, there's these, I guess, 5 halfway up, and then there's these 6 around the side here. There's going to be a fair bit of hydraulic infrastructure going in, so that does add a little bit of weight to that as well. Thanks.
Yeah, we can see the rams pretty much littered throughout the site in different areas. I know they took some more off of the old can crusher. They've got some right there to your left. We've seen the test stands in different places. So yeah, there's definitely going to be needing a lot more of those, and a lot of those are already there.
Yeah, they've been taking the rams out of this old can crusher here, and there's one even in the test framework here. They seem to have 2 test frames. This one's perhaps smaller for these hydraulic rams, and then there's the other one over there. Where is it? Over near this building. One second. This building, there's one here as well. Seems to be bigger, perhaps for the different size rams. Okay.
I wonder if they're using that structure to maybe recertify all the seals on those pistons, since they've been kind of sitting out for a while. They might be adding some load to them and seeing if they leak.
Perhaps. Weren't they used for calibrating as well? I sort of heard somewhere on the line they were using them for calibrating.
Yeah, they can be used for both. I've seen those those structure sizes in multiple sizes in my past, and they do both. They test for seals, and they can test for classifying them and getting them all arranged at the right pressure for the right push.
Thank you. There's some. That's my doggies have bells on them. There's these new thingies here. I guess we can call them thingies. We call lots of things thingies. A couple of squares joined together with a vertical in between. There's one laying on its side here. It makes it look like a bit of a tangle in here. But we're not sure about them. There seems to be a spot. I need a different photo. In here they may be able to fit. We were seeing in show and tell. Oh, not that photo. We were thinking somewhere along the sides here. They may fit in here somewhere. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, if you're right where your cursor is at, there's a square tube that's kind of welded to the side there, and it has a spot on top. And I think the theory right now is they may attach those vertically here, so that the 2 squares are basically parallel with the ground. And then pistons could be attached to the flange there on the side, and that would essentially keep the piston upright when it's not attached to anything. Otherwise, it could have the tendency to want to rotate away from the test article. So that kind of keeps those corralled. So basically just a rotation constraint, and they're kind of paired, so they would maybe fit between the two. So we should be expecting a few more of these to show up or be built. That way they can do all. I believe there's 20 on the outside. Are there not?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, it should be a couple more. I think there's enough for 12 here. I think there was 6 of them.
Yes. So that's basically upside down. This one here would attach or slide down that square tube. 1 second. In here, or attach, weld onto there, and be upright here, and create a square for this one and for that one beside it, and then this one here, the next one around for this one and for that one. Thank you. Now we might jump over to questions and donations, please, Joe.
I want to thank Callistia Lee for gifting the membership, as well as Methane Man gifting 5, Toby Wobie gifting 5, and Jim Cabot gifting a membership. Thanks for that support, keeping RGB in the air. Got a question from Crane Man. Could the black pipes I pointed out last week on the edge of the concrete be for future drainage along the perimeter of the concrete?
That's possible. Let me find them. That photo, no. That photo, no. There they are. So we still have these forms here we think may go into the flame trench. I think Zach was having a good talk about them last week. These, I'm not sure, and I think these are, we thought they were rolls of geotext, I thought last time we spoke of them.
Yeah, are these the low photos, or are these still, is it a high photo?
That's a high photo.
Yeah, maybe if we find a low one, we might be able to get more detail.
I haven't actually looked for one.
It's just out of frame on that one there.
Just out of frame again.
I'll try that 2 to the right there. Yeah.
There we go. No.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's not a bad one. Just a bit zoomed out, that's all. Not sure we're going to get over there, Ryan, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not convinced they're pipes. I think they might be some sort of a rolled up tarp. But yeah, we'll have to see if they start distributing those around the site.
They'll just go out of shot. Oh yeah, so to answer your question, Kramer, we're not quite sure. Thank you, Joe.
Indeed, that's all I got.
Thank you. And did I miss anything at Massey's? Of course, the next section of the Can Crusher ring, everything's starting to get staged nearby, so we should see that starting to get assembled very soon, over the next couple of weeks, over the next week, I hope.
Yeah, I think they're going to start that after the storm, because it looks like they're ready, and they might have held off until the storm is past to get going, but I think that's going to start real soon here.
Yeah, in the past week, they didn't seem to make any progress on it. It looks essentially the same as last week, so I'm guessing they it's not a high priority moment.
Absolutely. Okay, on with Sanchez. I guess the big thing to note here, there's a tower section missing. Okay, it's looking nice and tidy around the GSC building. Getting all the work has been completed at the tank farm upgrades on the launch site and at Massey's. So things are sort of quieting down on that part of the GC building. I imagine there'll be a lot more tower work, plumbing going on here. That all seems to be going on over in this area next to the towers. So I'm not sure what the GC building is gearing up for next. Any ideas?
My guess is that once the tower is stacked, it's going to go into full OLM mode.
Yeah,
Oh,
because it seems like since they've been slowing down, that I think a lot of the piping is just about done for the tower section, and we're going to see a huge jump once they get going on OLM stuff. Because almost all the sections ready to go. So I'm not sure what else they'd be doing other than groundwork for the new tanks that have been coming, and one of those we'll see later.
and there's still a whole lot of GC. I mean, not just the OLM. There's a whole lot of GC associated with orbital launch pad B, to do with perhaps new pumps and hippos and whatever other infrastructure they'll need to run the actual ground stage 0. Is it stage 0/2? Stage 0.2?
Yeah, I think this building will probably transfer over to working on components for the launch mount, and then once I get further along with the groundwork for the chillers and the pumps, then we may see them produce maybe some more specialized pipes. Otherwise, they're probably just going to have like straight sections. They'll throw in some like the culverts and whatnot. So probably a little ways off for more specialty pipes, probably.
Okay, and for all the crane fans, there's a whole row of cranes here. Now, I understand these cranes are now in the actual Star Factory, getting sheltered from the storm. I think I saw them being put into the right-hand side of the Star Factory, away from the mega bays. Okay, so they seem to have stopped work. I mean, they could be packing stuff up for the storm, but this week I don't see any welders or leads or anything running around this transport stand. It may be because of the storm. Over here, there's still those two stands for the ship installation stand. These are the stands they put on top of the rising platforms with the cutout for the RVAC. So the RVAC would sit, if you imagine the platform is the concrete level, and the RVACs will sit down low, and this allows the workers to access the power heads up underneath the ship. Now that's interesting. We didn't show and tell there's two of these bars here now. So a couple of weeks ago we saw one of these bars here. We were unsure what it was, and now a new one arrived, and now another new one arrived. It's kind of amazing how many things we miss in show and tell some days. It's all good. Not there.
It's always funny when it's the big stuff like that. It's like, how did we hone in on some of these little small details, but yet then there's two pipes there that nobody mentioned.
Actually, there's three now. There's the one that was... Hang on. The one that was already there was over here. So this is another one again. There's actually three new ones. Oh, they're big. I have no idea what they are. I can't even speculate what they are.
Can't tell if that end has a flange on it or not. It kind of looks like it gets a little wider right at the end.
Yeah, they have a few doodads here and there on them. Doodads? Things here and there on them. Yeah, there's definitely something welded on the ends of them. They're way too long for a race, something to do with the ship raceway, is it? Or the booster raceway, perhaps? I mean, as a jig, not as actual flight, because they're steel. Not sure. I'll have to keep an eye on. We've been keeping an eye on them. It still didn't help us. These couple of platforms have been there for quite a while. Now, this mystery device, we can see in here its bun's been moved inside and it's starting to be painted white. So I think that generally indicates it's going into the star factory rather than being used outside. So we think this may be something to do with something inside the factory. And being so tall, I mean, they could be used horizontally or up in that higher part of the factory. And we can still see the spreader bar or whatever that other bar, we can just see in the shadows there. So that's moving along.
Steph and Ryan and Lawrence, do you guys see, does it have a slight bend right there? Is it slightly angled, or is that just camera's perspective? Looks like it bends to the right just a little bit at that point?
Yeah, it has a bend to it.
Okay.
Yeah, they do.
And it's got little, like a couple of eyelets here for what it looked like was that cross member could pin into here and allow, much like the 2-point lifter, if you could imagine. But it seems way overbuilt for that, and even a bit big for that. And now it's getting painted white. Well, it sort of indicates, once again, when I said that it's going to the star factory.
Yeah, it could be a new 2-point lifter jig for the Star Factory.
Not sure there's a better angle of it. No, it's behind there. Okay, so not much else going along in that area. We'll have a look at the tower sections. Tower section 1 obviously is at the launch site now. So now tower section 2, or module 2, I'm going to call them all different things on this here today. Number 2 is getting finalised. Still got a bit of scaffolding to go. Let me find a better photo. That's a better photo. So the cryo pipes have been installed on this one. I think I've got a good front photo. Yeah, this one. You can see the cryo pipes. Yeah, there they are. Installed. And they seem to be going one at a time, so the plumbers are busy in this one outfitting all the plumbing and other stuff, electricians as well, I would imagine. And they haven't started on this one. The scaffolding guys, I guess they were delayed on these 2 sections for the plumbers. They've started over on this section with the scaffolding. And just while we're there, we might just drop over to the port. Where are we? Hang on 1 second. Over at the port, we can see section 4 and 5. And we can see that this is the section with the SQD arm. I believe that's for the actuator to move the arm.
That's actually the pivot point for the QD arm. Yeah, the actuator would attach to that back column. We can't really see a photo of it here.
Sorry, yeah, that's right. That's the hinge. So the carriage, the chopsticks are over on this side. So we have a rail here, and here, putting the carriage and the chopsticks over there. So yeah, the SQD pivots from here and reaches around the corner there. I knew I'd get that wrong, between the pivot point and the hinge and the actuator. So we can see the baskets here for the 2 different cryo commodities, as we saw in Tower 1, getting ready to be plumbed into this pivoting plumbing they have here to make it so they can pivot.
Yeah, you can see on the other section the rest of the pivot points.
Yep, there's another one there. And we believe this later on can be changed. There's actually 2 mounting points for the SQD arm here, so that could change at some stage. And the chopsticks and the carriage is here somewhere too. There's the carriage. And I noticed also the carriage has some of the hydraulic accumulators already mounted to it here. I think for the actual chopsticks actuators, these ones.
Yeah, the carriage does. The segment 5 has the accumulators for the QD arm.
And of course, they're using the shorter arms on the new tower, which is going to be excitement guaranteed. Just quickly while we're here, I apologise for digressing. We've got an image of where the SpaceX employees park their cars and get driven to Starbase in the shuttle buses here in Brownsville, downtown Brownsville. And also, go on.
That particular one's been here for over a year. I remember driving by it past in October and realizing that that's where they were parking. So this one's been here for a while, but then you got this one that you're about to show.
And this one's a new one, and it was unsure whether it was actually SpaceX or not. But then we discovered just an hour ago that the building from Massey's is here. So that's come down in one piece as a transportable.
Yeah, definitely confirms that this is another SpaceX lot. So they're going to be getting quite a few more parking spots here.
And I'm going to ask chat, what on earth are these trailers? Has anybody ever seen these trailers before? I know I certainly haven't. This one's slightly less taller, so I'm not quite sure. We've got Lawrence, you've done truck driving. You haven't seen these trailers before either?
No, these are definitely specialized trailers for something.
I'm sure someone in chat will know.
Yeah, please let us know if you know, because we're all confused.
Okay, back on track. So they're still busy in this area with where they're building the cryopipes for the new tower sections rather than over in that GC building. We're still missing the blocks or the pulleys and so on for the section 9. So I'm guessing we'll see them sooner or later, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, I have a feeling those are going to show up right before they're ready to stack it.
We would imagine they're definitely going to be installed. It would be a lot easier, wouldn't it, if they were installed before they stack them. The two actuators are still sitting over here, and we're pretty sure one's a left and a right. I've got a better image
Hey,
somewhere.
Steph. I'm going to interrupt real quick because we got Crayman in the chat saying that they are look to be like red ramps on trailers, the same ramps used for the tower sections to load onto the barge. And that makes sense with how I was thinking they might be hinged at the front. So thank you, Crayman. We really appreciate you and all your knowledge, because that seems just about right on.
Can you just say that again, please, Todd? I'm looking at them.
At the ends, they look like they hinge there, and the ramps that loaded the sections onto the barge from the land to barge transfer. They can hinge with how much weight's going on, or if they're lowering or raising the barge. So it looks like that those are the ramps they use to load the tower sections and everything onto the barge, or maybe not the exact ones, but it looks like they're ramps for that type of use.
And they were that colour. Thank you, Crayman. That does actually make a lot of sense. Thank you. I really love this community where none of us have to know everything, because there's so many different people's experience out there with work-life experiences. It's really amazing, this community, for getting information like that. So thank you all. Really appreciate it. Okay, back to the actuators. It kind of looks like, I don't know, maybe they've been doing some work still. Looks like a pair. We can see plumbing on the outsides of them. So we definitely have a left and a right actuator here. The left-hand one here is the old one off Tower 1, and this one on the side's a new one. This photo is a bit better, I think, yeah. So this one here, we can see the plumbing on the sides. So this one is for, if we're looking from the tower to the chopsticks, that one goes out on the left-hand side, which is the one they took off and replaced. And once again, looking from the tower towards the chopsticks, this would be the right-hand one with the plumbing on the outside. So they're basically the wrong way around here. Okay, moving on. That's about all we've found with the tower sections. Now over here, not a lot's changed. Oh, things changing here all the time a little bit. We've got 2 more of these platforms. They seem to be coming in pairs. Perhaps that's how it works for a truckload. So we're looking for 6 of these all up for the 2 engine install stands that don't have them, so 3 on each. So we've got 4 out of the 6 here already. We did notice some of these shelves are starting to get emptied, so perhaps they're starting to scrap some of this stuff in here, which we think perhaps is a lot to do with version 1 ships. So that's probably most of this stuff is probably obsolete now since they're moving to version 2. I imagine there's some stuff that they're still using on version 2 in here, but like I said, it looks like they're starting to clear stuff out of here eventually. Finally. It seems to have taken forever. This stuff seems to have been sitting here forever without changing much at all. I don't think there's anything else in this area of note. We noticed last week the stretch form pieces for the domes. We also see them out the back of Star Factory towards the office building as well, in that little ring yard. So I'm not sure what's going on there, whether they're being delivered like this, which would probably be a good guess if they're in this area. Okay, I'm moving along. Let's go over to this area. Just before we go there, so this little area here is getting some work and some concreting as well. And they've been digging some trenches around this building. Let's find another photo of that. One moment, over here, this side as well. So there's something going on. Probably just a little bit of infrastructure, some electrical or something going on. Maybe some taps, a little bit of minor sort of plumbing. Nothing really special. I haven't done anything with this extension yet. Or maybe they're starting to put some flooring in. Is that something new, the flooring in there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, scrapyard. We have some scrappage going on here. That article, oh, here we go. This article has been squashed, which is more than, and why would they do this one ahead of the rest? Would be to do with the storm, because a barrel section without any internal stringers and storms, I think they've worked out, isn't a very good idea.
Yeah, definitely not.
I'd say that from past arms, it's not an idea. It's more of a fact. It doesn't work out good. We've seen them blown around in the past.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of wind for those to kind of fold and end up rolling in on each other and kind of roll around.
Was it here? There's the new 2-point lifter. Where was that? There's a new 2-point lifter stand. I've lost it. Where is it?
It's near the tower segments where
I hate it when I lose things.
there's a good shot of it if you go from the other direction.
There it is. A new 2-point lifter stand. So finally, we will see the 2-point lifter stand that's at the crane yard will finally get its stand. Thanks, Lawrence. There's so many things to keep track of.
Yeah, I was just going to mention it looks like they're doing more horizontal boring in front of, or next to Highway 4 as well, in front of Sanchez.
Yeah, I'll just go over to there quickly. We'll digress to there for a second. Hang on. It looks like it's going over to this. This is just a good shot to get a bit of perspective where it is. Looks like they've gone through here. So it's perhaps to tap into the electrical, or in here there's electrical and water, maybe even some drainage in this front along this nature strip. easement, whatever you want to call this in America, and seems to be connecting through there. So quite a short little run there, little trainer run. We see some quite long runs with that horizontal boring machine or directional boring. The parking garage is getting a nice Star Factory grey all the way around, which is looking nice. They seem to have finished the elevators and put a nice little roof section on top of it. I think this photo shows a little roof section there over the stairwell entry and the elevator in there as well somewhere. I guess next we'll start to see some lines up there for parking spaces. The Three Amigos. So there's a chance. I'm just going to quote Jax. The 32 may not fly. There's a chance it may fly. It hasn't been worked on for quite a number of months now. So maybe none of these articles will fly. So my own personal speculation was that, they're still using boosters. Version 1s, it won't matter that you're having version 2 ships on. As far as booster development goes, it won't matter if they have version 1 or version 2 ships on top of it. They'll still be fine-tuning the booster flights and landings and catching. So the ship isn't necessarily needed for booster development. And I believe we've got a version 2 ship in production at the moment, so it may come along, especially with all these delays we're having lately. Version 2 ship may come along before ship 32 is even needed. Or it could fly.
Yeah, for a long time I've believed that ship 32 is that use in case of an emergency ship. Like if something went wrong with 30 or 31.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Unless there's data to be learned by flying 32, I don't think that they're going to fly it. And given how much they're doing with 30 to try and get it to survive reentry, I think we'll see lessons learned from 30 applied to 31. And by the time that 31 flies, they should have enough data to at least get the first, version 2 ship somewhat solidified. And who knows, we might even see large sections of it stacked by that point.
So version 1's job, I guess, is basically to prove that they can survive the high heating re-entry. And once 31 and 32 can show that their tile system, whether it's 31's tile system or if 31's tile system doesn't work, they modify, 30's. If 30's tile system doesn't work, they can modify 31's tile system. And if 31 survives re-entry, that's version 1's job complete. Perhaps 31, I think someone was saying, perhaps 31 they may do an engine start and maybe go over to Hawaii rather than Indian Ocean. So we may see that. I'm not saying what that will, but this may be a possibility.
Based on what Elon has said, it seems like they know there's a design flaw regarding the version 1 ships. So I don't think they're going to try and keep those around, knowing that, basically they already got the data to indicate that the design flaw is there. So they're going to want to rapidly switch over to fixing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. They seem to have stopped working on the commodities farm. Wait in chat. Yeah, Booster 4's aft section is still sitting there. Still looking pretty as ever. Not. Beautiful HPV covers on the side. Well, they HPU covers.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've covered everything at Sanchez. Have I missed something major?
Looks like you got it all to me that I can remember.
Yeah, all right. So I'll pass back over to Joe for some donations and questions, please.
Hey, I want to thank 55 Chevy Guy Steve for 5 gifted memberships. Thanks for that continued support, Chevy Guy Steve. Appreciate you. Craneman wanted to point out those 3 long pipes appear to be square. You can see it clearly at the corroded parts with the light reflection.
Oh, those long pipes.
Yeah, it looks more like a box tubing, like a steel box tubing. They almost seem like rails almost, but the one angle kind of showed a little bit of light glistening off part of it, as if maybe part of it, yeah. So that has a little bit of I can't tell if there's actually like a different colored on the one up top above it. There's kind of like a gray mark across it. I can't tell if that's something laying on top of it or what's going on there.
Yeah, I agree. They look square still to me.
Yeah, those two, the black ones are, it looks like on the sides of each, looks like they're prepping to weld something on the near the ends of them on the sides.
Yeah, I'd say they're square. That sort of shows a top horizontal surface and a side in the shadow, a vertical surface with the sun. Where is the sun? Slightly over that side. You can see the casting shadow slightly over this way. Oh, here you can see the shadow here casting this way and here. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Crayman.
All right. I want to thank Just Martin for a super sticker. Says thanks for being you for 20 pounds. And a PayPal donation came in from Richard Davis for $50 for fuel. Thank you very much for that.
Oh,
Excellent.
wow.
Incredible.
Yeah, wow.
Thank you. Spherical Cow asks, has there been any visible progress around the HLS nose cone mock-up?
I don't think so, hang on. Not really, no. We would see whenever they're working on something, obviously there's welders and generators nearby. And no, I haven't seen anything go in or out. Has anyone seen anything on the cameras go in and out? I don't think so.
I haven't seen anything personally, but I think it's a long duration test article for the HVAC systems.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, and Liam Donald is questioning, where do we think they'll expand to next? Next to vehicle processing?
My answer would be wherever there's concrete, they're going to rip it up and do something expansion because that's
Yes.
what they do.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's all I got.
That's a good question. Good questions. Thank you. Okay, well, let's move on to the build site then. Okay, another really nice panorama looking across the build site towards the launch site. Of course, the large crane is laying down now in the background. Okay, we'll start over towards Mega Bay 2 area. Okay, a little bit of a shot into Mega Bay 2. There's a couple of shots into Mega Bay 2. Something I hadn't noticed before are these embeds here to park a ship in the front of Mega Bay 2 here. Now, ship 31 has been moved in. 31, has been moved into this front right-hand side here, still on its puck shucker. I think from the ground cameras you can just see it sticking out on this side. Here we go, this is the shot I was looking for. We can see those, we were talking about those stands over there in Sanchez just a minute ago. 3 of them each to go onto the platform in here. So this stand and the one behind it don't have them yet. Only the centre stand at the rear has them. And like I said, that's to help the mechanics access the power heads. Concrete work and everything around the front of Mega Bay 2 and the alley, I guess we'll call it alley these days rather than ring yard, is slowly getting all repaired and finished off from the recent drainage work. And we speculated there was enough room to bring the Ship 31 all the way through in show and tell, and even the door was open ready to receive Ship 31, and that's exactly what happened. It went into there. While we're on this, also while we're in this photo, we can see a lot of the white steel has been disappeared for the stands all around in the back of Mega Bay 2, so that seems to be wrapping up.
Going back to that last question for expansion stuff, that might be an area that they might be looking to do other things in, and we haven't seen anything else get staged in there yet, and they normally don't take too long before they start restaging stuff, so next week will be interesting to see what's there.
There's a couple of possibilities there, I guess. There's that whole area there. There's High Bay, which could be scrapped, and I guess once the office is up and running, maybe Stargate may be able to be pulled down as well, and perhaps a Mega Bay or two go here, there, or whatever. I think they're going to need some more Mega Bays if they increase their cadence as they're wanting to. Okay, while we're here, we can have a look at Booster 15. We can see the LOX tank here with its common dome on top, and everything except for the aft section is on Booster 15, and it's been stagnating too for a little bit. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. We haven't seen any methane tank ring sections come into the Mega Bay yet, so perhaps they're once again delaying for a few more flights before they move on with Booster 15 in case they need to iterate again. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm guessing they're waiting on Booster 15 because they've got 12 will fly with 30, and you've got 13 which will fly with 31. And then if they switch over to a V2 ship after that, then technically they have a booster already for a V2 ship. So probably won't make a lot of progress on 15 until after 12 flies, and maybe they catch it, and maybe they can get it back and inspect it, and then decide to do some changes here or there, and then they implement those on maybe 15 and 14.
So part of, or just continuing with what you said about catching, a lot of the catching is to do with actually the very top of a booster, I guess, with the landing pins, and perhaps to start the methane section. Are they waiting for a forward section to start the methane section? Is that right? They start at the top?
Yeah, I believe they'll start with the stacking of the grid fin section.
Thank you, Ryan. And Lawrence, this is a good photo of the garage, almost painted. I think it's got most of that side to be painted still. A little bit of a section here looking rather flash. We can see this side's the ramp side. It's all a bit crooked in there.
Maybe just to add in relation to the booster discussion, I believe Jax pointed out that it's a little odd that we haven't seen as many grid fins installed on the boosters that are essentially complete. So that kind of suggests that they potentially may redesign the grid fins. So we kind of have to keep our eyes out to see if maybe they have a new design they want to go with. May have data to suggest that the fin design is able to be more optimized. So just a minor note to keep our eyes out for.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So is there even booster 12 missing its grid fins as well? Is that correct?
12 has its grid fins, but 13 and 14 don't.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, when Jax brought that up, I really agreed with that, because they've gotten so much more data with the last booster landing or attempted landing that they have the data now can validate changes. So I think that's really on par.
Okay, speaking of booster, you see it in through there? Yeah, we can see booster 12, 13, 14. And we can see booster 13, still with no chimes on either of them. And
We
there were
did
chimes.
see, there were chines out front the last flyover, and I believe those have disappeared now. So presumably they were taken inside and probably put on booster 12. And I think during the week we actually saw additional covers show up. So it's possible that 12 has all of its covers now. We just don't know.
We need
Plus,
to
we
go.
plus we have upcoming road closures that are finally pointing towards booster testing activity.
We don't quite have the angle back that way into Mega Bay 1. Okay, this is a good shot of the finalising concrete work through here. That should all be concreted, ready to be torn up again. Tile work on ship 30 is continuing. Even though it looks like the flaps are tiled, I understand that's just the ablative part of the heat shield and not actually the tiles yet. And there was speculation they would move ship 30 out for the storm, but I really don't think so. But they'd have to remove all the scaffolding and so on. So I don't. And I'm led to believe the prevailing wind will be from the right here, so it should be well protected from the storm. Anyhow, a little cocktail umbrella on top looks cute. That's a major job to replace a whole heat shield. They've done well.
It is a major job, and it just still mind blowing how fast they're going on it. I know they're not done, but it's still gone a lot faster than I would have ever thought it would take to replace tiles on an entire ship.
We have word from Elon. We've got the launch Flight 5 in 4 weeks. Still 4 weeks line from Elon. I don't know if that's Elon time. He seems to be a bit more accurate lately with his Elon time.
Yeah, I believe that would put it first weekend of August, I believe. So wouldn't be surprised if that slips just a week for weather and other things. So I think a probably pretty accurate prediction would be maybe the second week of August.
Yeah, I've been thinking a mid-August launch because that's when the crane is supposed to be done stacking, and it would be around the same time where they can lay the crane down for a little while.
Okay, let's move on to around behind the Star Factory. I think this image has it. Maybe this one's better. The new version forward flap. I know this is the same one, but it's reappeared. So it's a slightly different design forward flap, and we believe it's going to be in a slightly different position on the ship, a bit further towards the leeward side, which will help a lot for re-entry. Okay, now while we're here, these black lines we originally thought were for supplying water to the new office building, but they've now looking like they're for HVAC units or some kind of chilling device to chill a liquid for the office instead. So I think Dave Avery came up with the idea there'll be HVAC units on here, 5 of them. So we'll have water in and water out. It's interesting they do this loop. I'm not sure what the go there is. I think AH was having a bit of an idea, something to do with, they said some fancy words I didn't quite understand. But there's a reason for that loop apparently.
Yeah, Dave had brought that up about the water cooling towers, and it seems like it's fitting for that. That would good area for it. They've got the space. They've got a way to route it to the building. So whether it be for server chillers or just overall the office building or both, I think he got that right on this time for sure.
And there appears to be insulated pipes too. Just here we can see perhaps a bit of pipe where there's no insulation. So they appear to be insulated pipes as well, running all the way over there. Well, there's not a lot back here. Just finishing off little bits and pieces. They have worked on that. Those lines have been put in. We saw those come from the commodities. Pretty sure they come from the commodities farm all the way over in Sanchez. Okay, over here in this wall area, looks like we've finally got a concrete wall. They're starting to pull the formwork off down here. We believe there's some, they've blocked off a circle in here and another couple of circles in here to bring these drainage pipes out, stormwater from the factory and stormwater from the roads out through here. So I guess they finally got their permission to dump all that water out here. I mean, it's kind of funny because for a long time the water was coming off the factory and coming out here anyway. So I guess now it's all formalised and done correctly now. And the next big speculation is how they're going to join these two walls. They don't own this property yet, so perhaps they'll go around. Perhaps they won't do anything for now until they do own this land. Over to the ring yard. I think that was all in this area. There's nothing really new in there except the flappity flap. The angry dome has been scrapped. Now let's get a larger shot here for 1 second. I believe a lot of the aerial work platforms and scissor lifts went in through this door and are being stored in here for the storm. And I think Grover and the other smaller cranes are in here at the moment, sheltering from the storm. I think we saw that from Lab Padre's cameras overnight. Well, overnight for me, through the day for you guys. I could use this photo, couldn't I? Now, this is a good photo to show the footings going on over here. There's still a bit of a mystery how this part of the building is going to work and how it's going to tie in with this building, considering this building has these odd odd levels here where they step out. So it's going to be interesting to see how they marry up these two buildings in here and where actually this building's going to go, because it's not lining up with this building yet. So somehow in here they're going to have to come across or do some odd shape in here. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. What do you guys think?
I really only think that the engineers and the designers know, because nothing makes sense about this. I'm wondering if it's going to be a separate building and not marry up with the office building, just get right up close to it to use every square foot. As far as the other side towards the lot down there, I've got no idea what they're going to do.
So my understanding with this building is that the floor structures are kind of all structural and tied together, but the walls are kind of more of like a freestanding, like a glass wall, that aren't exactly tied in, because we know where the walls are going to be because that base floor is actually wider than the rest of the walls slightly. It's a little more accentuated on this side because of the way that the floors kind of taper away. But I'm guessing that the exterior wall on the factory is going to curve around and continue onto the front side of this building. And then the interior of this building will essentially be like one big open loft area that will then be able to be passed through into the actual factory area. And it may be like a Hawthorne where they have like a glass wall that separates the factory from the office space, but that'll be somewhere in the middle here. So there will be like a loft area, or maybe they'll have like a hanging test article of some sort, maybe a raptor, who knows? But they'll maybe have some sort of a decoration in there that will kind of be separate from the factory, but technically all connected still.
Okay, well that's good explanation. Thanks. That would look quite nice, having something hanging up in sort of this space in here. I guess you're talking about as a open space. Oh, that'll look interesting to go and have a look at. They need to do an open house for us, don't they? So yeah, we got floors going ahead. For a long time, we saw these things on the ground, and I've been wondering what they were. I've never been able to find out what they were, but we can see what they are now. I'm not sure that was covered last week. They're for the facade around the front, and that should hide whatever HVAC unit. I don't know if there's HVAC units up here or not. And it looks like they're going to concrete on top of the roof as well. I think we already knew that. So yeah, building's going ahead quite well. This side slowly catching up. Seem to be working on it a little bit more now. Seem to be delayed quite a lot.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if they're going to put a helipad on top of the roof.
Oh yeah, that'll look good.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Trying to see if we can find that curved section that we now see this.
I'm not sorry. I'm not seeing any access points other than those two squares. Are there any other access points to the roof that other than these two squares in this? No, so there's not much access for roof if they are going to do something like that.
Yeah, I see the two side. Looks like they just have the stairwells on each end.
I'm just looking for an angle to find that curved section. So there's another rather large open section in here for the main entry. It's going to be a grand entry. That'll be a nice place for Ship 20 to just sit right there, sticking out the top of the building. Or Hopper. Maybe they'll move Hopper one day. I hear a lot of people say Hopper will never move. That's almost sacrilege saying that Hopper will move. But anyway, we'll see. Okay, that just about wraps up Star Factory as far as we can see. I mean, all the holes are filled in from the cranes. I think that was last week. That work's going ahead. That area's going ahead. Over here seems to have stagnated a little bit with this development area over here. Perhaps they was slowing down on the commercial site further out, so perhaps they're stagnating here as well, prioritising a little bit. Not much has changed over in the crane yard, I don't think. Is this the rest? Is this Begrover, this bit of framework?
Yeah, I believe so.
When they extend the Grover to go much higher, and now the 2-point lifter waiting for its stand. So here's more of the counterweights. We've been chasing counterweights all over the place. There's these old. These are the older ones with the white corners. I'll just find those other ones. I think they're at Macy's site. One second.
Yeah, we saw those in that storage lot.
Here it is. You'd think I'd have my photos organised. So there's some newer ones here, and then there's some older ones here being replaced. So I think some of them were for the new crane, and perhaps they're replacing some of these old ones they used for the SPMTs as well, perhaps. I think Crane Man was coming up with the numbers that there's more of these than what is needed on the new crane. So perhaps some of the rest of them are being used. These are being replaced by newer ones, perhaps for the SPMTs. Not quite sure. I don't think anyone's 100% sure about that still. Just while we're here, sorry, don't mean to digress. It was while we're here, this site seems to be using up a lot of the commodities that are in here as the sites develop. Missing a photo. There's a photo of the development site, but not much has happened on that development site. Oh, here it is. Found ya. This seems to have stagnated a bit as well. They seem to have put some geotexting here on the slope from last week, but that's about all. Maybe a little tiny bit of the drainage work is continuing, but not much work is going on here, which I guess helps them in a way. The more they wait here, the longer that this drainage system will drain water out of the underlying ground.
Yeah, we know Kathy said that they were waiting on that now.
I just want to take a quick second here, Steph, and say hello to Grandpa Joe, who's in the chat. If you guys ever have a chance to meet that man, you definitely need to. He is probably one of the nicest people I've met at GrowFest. He was a really great guy to talk with and chat with. My daughter loved him. Hi, Grandpa Joe.
G'day, Grandpa Joe, and it's an honour to be here on a live stream myself personally and following in your footsteps a little bit and helping Zach out. So good to see you, Joe, and you're a bit of an inspiration for me to be here, actually. Thank you. I think that just about wraps up the build side as well. Joe, have we got any questions, please, and donations?
Yeah, I got a question from Spacey Plum. And by the way, hello, Grandpa Joe. Nice to see you again. Question from Spacey Plum. When do you think they will go to 3 grid fins? Version 2? Version 3? Never?
I might pass that one over to Ryan, please.
It's maybe questionable. I think it's really going to come down to what they decide they need from the catch attempts, because they haven't actually brought the booster all the way back to land yet, or to the launch site, I should say more specifically. They've pretty much targeted locations that are offshore by quite a good margin. So we don't really know if they're currently limited by anything regarding the grid fins. They may, redesign it to make it more efficient. I think the likely idea would be for mass reduction, so they don't actually need a 4th grid fin. But it really comes down to it may be something that they do on the version 2 boosters, but I still think we're probably, I'd say we're a year away from version 2 boosters still. So if they decide to change the grid fins now to a slightly different design on the V1 booster, then we might have an indication if they're kind of trending in that direction for 3 grid fins or not.
All right.
Thank you.
Along those lines, Trent Talenko is asking, does anyone think if a successfully caught, tested Generation 1 booster will fly more than once?
I think I've said in the past that if Booster 12 is caught, they probably won't refly it. But I'd love to be wrong, but I think that they'll probably take it apart and do a lot of inspections. There may be certain components that can't actually be reused because they just get damaged. So I think it's likely they won't refly them, but just getting the booster back is like a huge step forward for the reusability of them. So probably not, but it'd be pretty cool if they did.
Yeah, I agree that there probably won't be reflying any of the first couple of boosters that are returned to the launch site.
Yeah, I'm right there with Ryan. I don't think so. I'd love to see it, but I don't think so. There's just going to be so much information to gain by tearing these things apart and inspecting every stress point and every connection and just going through it with a fine-tooth comb to see what worked and what didn't work. I'd love to see it, though. That'd be awesome.
Agreed. Well, that's all I got for here. We can move along.
Okay, let's go over to the launch site. So we can just zoom from the building site. We can just zoom on over to the launch site. Let's go there. Hang on. All right, launch site. So the major development obviously is this area over here. So we can see Tower Section 1 had arrived. It had been staged where it had needed to be for lifting, and they've moved it out of the way, and they've since then laid the crane down in here. It just fits all the way in here. Okay, now also we've had a lot of the piles drilled in this area, and now the pile drillers moving on to this area. So
They moved where they were assembling the rebar cages, actually. They were kind of down to the bottom here. I've actually moved them up there now, maybe indicating they're going to go a little further toward the bottom of this image than just where they currently are.
So there's a few working theories of a 2 or even a 3-way flame trench. I'm not sure whether this holds any substance or not. This was just something I knocked up quickly just to find where we don't think it's going to be circular OLM, obviously. The circle is just to indicate roughly where the OLM is on pad A. So that diagonal through there, it's about that distance away. And it's a little bit that way from the center. And it seems to work if they do a 3-way or even a 2-way one. That's just, like I said, once again, a bit of speculation on my behalf. Kind of looks pretty, but perhaps it'll only be 2. I'm not sure. I'll get a bit of pushback about the 3 because the corners are a bit of an issue, apparently. But we can just wait and see. I can see a 2-way one very easily and perhaps a 3-way one. Okay, moving on. I think we can see, we found a photo, we could see one of these. We could see, yeah, there they are, the cryo pipes in the base here. And we think they'll probably come out and go out that doorway down there. Because there's no way to go through the concrete, obviously, now. So they'll just have to go across the surface and be protected somehow behind the tower. The elevator tower has been put in already as they go, and I'm pretty sure the carriage, the bit you stand in, is already in there as well.
Yeah, it looks like they'd already installed that first part of the elevator shaft along with the carriage and the cart or whatever you want to call it that rides along the shaft as well.
We have our lifting jig, the load spreader for the tower section standing by. Okay, we've still got these the wall sections here to fill in this part. In here, they seem to all be there, but they haven't made any progress to add them yet. I'm not sure if I've got the best photo. They're all about the same. The floor sections have been put in. There's two floors. The bottom floor section down there and upper floor section. We can see some of the tower legs have been filled with concrete, and they're playing around with these footings for the tower here. They've been struggling. You were saying, Ryan, about this one down here.
Yeah, they've been pulling those on and off and adding some shims to them, and then pulling them back off, doing some more measuring. And it seems like it's been a little frustrating. I'm sure there are some constraints they're trying to meet, and stuff might not be lining up perfectly as they want it to. So I believe they wanted to lift the first section up here before the storm hit, but they ran into some issues with getting everything level and in the right place. So they have since aborted that operation, and they may wait until after the storm to really get everything here dialed in.
Yeah, so the legs are filled with concrete, but not these little. They sit on top, so you can see concrete to that level, but not up to here. Do you think, Ryan, they need to fill the walls with concrete before they stack? I don't think they do they?
No, I don't think they need to, because the columns are going to take pretty much all of the load and directly translate that to the pile cap down below. So the walls don't really need to be filled in quite yet.
And
Yeah, I
there
think
I
the
see.
walls are more on the line of protection versus structural strength to hold it up. I think they're just protection for the base area.
Yeah, I think they're going to hold off on the wall pour until after the first segment is stacked, because it'll make it easier to get everything aligned, bolted in before they start pouring the concrete in.
We believe they've already welded, because the base was assembled out of a bunch of double-sided steel wall pieces, and we believe they welded all of the interior walls first. That way they could then assemble the floor structures inside of here. Now they've moved to the outside, and they're going to be welding up all the seams on the outside, and they can basically do that in parallel as they're stacking the sections. So they'll probably weld all the outsides, like on a separate timeline. And do that as they're stacking the tower and fill with concrete kind of between everything. And they can put concrete in the walls after a section is already stacked, so there's not really a order of operations there.
Yeah, and it looks like that one wall, they've gotten a lot of the welding done already.
Very good, thank you. There it is. Just looking at tower section 1. It's looking fairly finalised, ready to stack, obviously. So this is in the correct orientation. So we have the cryo pipes over on this side, which will line up with the cryo pipes going to be coming out this door, I believe, to head off towards the GSC over in this area. So I think we're still speculating that even though they're going to share the tank farm, perhaps this side will still have its own hippos and pumps instead of trying to tap into the cryo lines in here. Perhaps come off these lines at the end here and bring a methane. I think there's a methane line just here ready to be tapped onto to come across and join in this bit of plumbing, and then bring just cryos from the tank across here, and then have pumps and hippos in here somewhere. So there's at least that infrastructure in here, and of course we need some kind of water deluge as well in here somewhere. I don't think there's much technical. Zach last week, we were fortunate to have Zach last week to go through a bit more of the technical side of this whole area. So I'll just leave those up to Zach a little bit when he comes back in a couple of weeks. It's always nice to have Zach back on the show. I realise I'm just filling in for Zach. I feel very privileged to be able to do that. I appreciate everyone's support allowing me to do this. But I'm never, ever, by no means want to think anyone think that I can replace Zach at all in any way with what he talks about and how he talks about things. I just feel privileged to fill in and just give you updates for the week, and then allow Zach to do his technical stuff when he gets back into the show. I enjoy listening to Zach's technical stuff just as much as everybody else, and I learn a lot from him. And like I said, I feel privileged to be able to fill in for him. Appreciate your support. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the tank farm itself. So obviously finished taking all the shells and the tanks out, and they're currently destroying the actual footings. Little bit of extra stuff happening here and there. They've added this pipe, which is we think is a high pressure nitrogen line. I think we can see it coming off. Where is it? This line in here. Here it is. This line here. It does tee off. We're right. AH does tee off there, and that's to backfill. On this side, it's to backfill the nitrogen tanks. To backfill them when they're draining the nitrogen tanks. I'm unsure what they need it for on this end. Do you have any ideas, Ryan, why they need the gaseous nitrogen over this end? Seems to go into the main line here, the main liquid line.
I'm not really sure on that. I haven't really looked at this line, or I guess the remodel here for the feed system in a little bit, so I'm not super familiar with where all the pipes are going. It may have something to do with just pressure equalization. Yeah, I'm not totally sure.
Cool.
Could it also be for when they're doing things like the RQD test we saw this past week?
I'm not sure whether that goes up in through the nitrogen line or not. I would think that's more on a different line. It's a good question. Other than that, much of the same. I guess I've still got some scaffolding around these baskets. They've been there for a number of weeks. It's
Yeah,
good
definitely.
to see. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say we've been seeing the purging test, so they're definitely getting ready for Flight 5, but at a slower, if you want to call it slower, pace for SpaceX.
Well, they do still have 4 weeks to get things finalised over there. It's good to see the LR 11,000 removed from here. It doesn't need to come back here anymore. That work's completely finished. So a speculation now is what to do with the LR 1100, 11,000. For now, I guess it'll probably aid in the construction of the new launch pad, I would imagine. And they've been doing some work over here. We saw a number of weeks ago they dug up this pad and add some conduits that go up into this building. So they seem to be moving some transformers around. And they removed a small section of walling here. So a little bit of tidying up going on for this power supply for the site. I think they had to do with the power supply for the whole site. So maybe they're upgrading a little bit. Perhaps it's in preparation for, in preparation for the new GSE area. But I think that wouldn't be right because there's a lot of electrical comes in here. So we know there's a lot of new electrical conduits just in here. So the power for the new GSC area should come in through here. And perhaps still use this building. I think this building may stay. I could be wrong, but it may stay.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Stephanie. That place was a spaghetti's nest of wires and conduit when they had that opened up. So I think that was all pre-planned for the new bunker in that area.
Agreed.
Some nice angled shots. Okay, onto the tower, I guess. Not much to report on the tower either. What have they done? They've changed this line here on the SQD. They've changed I think it's that far one, the LOX line. I think this is the older one and the new one over there. They haven't reattached these actuators yet, as far as I know either.
Yeah, as far as last seen, they're still not attached.
Well, they said they've got 4 weeks to work on them. The pushes are still out, aren't they? That's them there, aren't they?
That's correct.
So I don't know what that means. They're going to continue testing the rails, or Ryan, I think you're talking. They've tested this side. You don't think they'll need to test this side?
Yeah, I guess I just noticed that the pushers there on the left arm are actually over the top of the rail a little bit, so they've actually pulled those in. So that's maybe a difference. I don't think they were like that last week. But yeah, they've tested the swing of the left arm with booster 14.1, and they've actually lifted both of the rails now with the pistons. So what they were doing with the left arm, I don't think needs to be repeated with the right arm. they may still do it at some point, but I don't think they'll necessarily do it with Booster 14.1. I think we may see Booster 14.1 come back out, while if Booster 12 goes back to the production site after its static fire. But I'm not quite sure. Given what they did with 14.1, I'm kind of hesitant to think that they will. But we may see that other arm move quickly at some point later on before Flight 5.
Very good. So we've seen. That was earlier. We saw before they put the platform back up. No, since then they've done some testing on the QD. When was that, Lawrence? The testing of the QDs.
It was a couple of days ago. They did there was like 5 or 6, or no, excuse me, what was it, 15, 16 different tests?
That's right. Yep. No, I remember. Thank you. Yep. A big change here, sorry, Lawrence, is they've concreted over this lid. They've taken the lid, or the concrete over lid, they've taken the lid off and concreted over. So I guess they feel they don't need to get back into that area underneath there.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that they have removed all the scaffolding off the dance floor now.
Okay, inside here, the scaffolding's gone.
Yeah, they had the tower in the middle, and that's now gone. So they just have the outer scaffolding.
That tower in the centre, is that indicating testing the clamps for level, to get them level? Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe it has something to do with the leveling process normally.
Yeah, normally we see it when they plan on using the alignment jig.
Yep, thank you. Okay, just trying to see if there's anything we've missed on the launch site now. We're a little bit ahead of time, but that's fine. Let me see, can anybody think of anything we've missed out? So we saw some dump trucks dumping soil on the launch site, and we worked out that this is where they are. This is the last piece of the last tank. We think might be being moved over here for the storm as well. That's why that's there. They've hooked up this tank, and just to please everyone's OCD or whatever, they've made it nice and crooked.
Just for us.
Yeah, they really don't like making things straight, do they? So, and there's a new type of stack as well. So this whole tank was a little different in a number of ways with this bottom cage. You can see that it's different. I'm not sure whether our brains trust has quite worked out what exactly is going on in there. And I guess when they finally put the last tank in, they'll have to put another one of these extensions in and another one of these tank stands out here, which is going to make this gateway even smaller. So perhaps they're waiting to get this gateway, where can I see it, this gateway, new gateway opened up.
Yeah, they've been removing a lot of the concrete and stuff from the ramp area. So it looks like they've been working towards Highway 4.
So they may put a gate in through here. So I guess there's another speculation that may not be a gate all the way along there, and they may bring vehicles through here even for launch pad A. I guess once launch pad B is up and running, they're going to upgrade and shut down launch pad A for a while, and B will take over, which the rate they're going won't be that far along, to be honest. So they may or may not make a gate in here yet. I mean, in the short term, they may just, so they can't, like Booster 12 is going to have to come through here somewhere. I'm not sure whether Booster 12 will come in through here or in through here still. I think there's still room to come in through here, but I guess that's why they're delaying this last tank.
Whatever gate they make or end up using, will probably be used more long term. So it'll have to fulfill, movement to A and B. So I imagine it'll be up near Starhopper. It just really depends on how far they're going to bring these tanks over. I mean, every time we think that they've stopped adding tanks, they add more tanks. So maybe planning for the future, yeah, it may go where they currently have the container wall tore out, roughly in that spot there. But we'll have to wait and see if they pull out, because the ground is very uneven in that area. So there's a pretty big change in elevation just, yeah, within that area. So we'll probably get a better idea if they start targeting specific regions of the concrete to remove, and start grading them out. But yeah, Booster 12 will have to come in over there to the right through the standard entrance, and it'll be a pretty tight squeeze, but it'll work for now.
I think the ship can come around the corner, but the booster they go up and then back through. I think by memory. Okay, well let's go. Sorry, Lawrence.
Yeah, I was going to say it would not surprise me if they wait to do the whole reconfigure until after Flight 5 at this point.
Okay, we'll cross back over to Astro J for some. I was not going to call you Uncle J then. Astro J for some donations and questions, please.
Too funny. I got a question from Wyford. How will they find space for a flame trench when upgrading Pad A?
That's a good question. Let's see. They can't really go that way, can they? That's a good question. What do you think on that one, Ryan?
Um, I think there's land that SpaceX can use. It's just they have to jump through some hurdles in order to actually use it. It's possible that they'll pursue that route to gain more land, to be able to construct upon. There's also some other methods that they could possibly use, but they probably won't make a determination until after Pad B is launched a couple of times to see if whatever design they go with is going to work. Um, I still don't believe that it's going to be a like an in-ground flame trench. It's going to be more of an above-ground flame deflector, if I had to guess. So there's still going to be some space limitations, with the current footprint of Pad A. But I think that they'll be able to make it work. But it will probably have to be a little bit of a different design, um, potentially, depending if they are okay with blowing some of the exhaust toward the existing tank farm. Obviously, the tanks aren't there, and there's a berm to protect the tank farm. But if they were to, copy the design, they technically, based on our understanding of the deflector for Pad B, here at Pad A, it would roughly blow towards the tank farm as well. So it may not be a direct copy, or that it might be. We'll just have to wait and see.
Well, that's a good point. Going towards the tank farm where the big tank's not there anymore, and the berm there. And as it is, I mean, quite a lot of the blast was going that way as it is now, except for a couple of minor dints, well, major minor dints. The rest of the tank farm fared quite well with the blast going that way, so yeah, you could be right. And plus, they could kick it a little bit at the end, I guess, to help protect there. And we saw at Macy's, and I know that's only Massey's, sorry, and that's only 6 engines, that the plume dissipated fairly quickly out in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Yeah.
go just basic math, the mount right now has 6 exits to it, and they kind of all go in every direction. Just say, for instance, you go down to 3 exits, then you basically have twice the energy going in each direction. So does it scale that way? Probably not. But it's just one thing to consider.
Yep.
I think they would have to transition into that wall, not have a flat surface, because we've seen what the launches are doing to that wall. Yeah, the beginning of the ramp, it's just peppering that wall and it's eating it up. So if they did it that way, they'd have to transition into it, part of it, or redo some of it. But they couldn't be going up against a flat wall, even if they are kicking it up before. I think that wall wouldn't last too long. It's already getting beat up pretty good.
Cool. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah. Missing tools. Question: will vacuum-jacketed cryo lines in Tower 2? Whoops. Got another question come in and it scrolls on me. Will vacuum-jacketed cryo lines in Tower 2 reduce pipe chill down time? No more visible frosty?
Well,
That's
that's a possibility.
I'm thinking probably not because the steel, even if it is, vacuum insulated or jacketed, it's probably still going to be, ambient temperature if it's not actively being used. You still have to bring that up to temperature. It would probably just keep the exterior from the interior and the exterior would just have a temperature delta between them. But I think it would still technically affect the chill.
We've already seen the tower sections that don't have the vacuum type pipe plumbing, just insulated plumbing. So we probably continue to see that. I'm not sure if has that actually been an issue, Ryan? I don't know if it's actually been an issue. I mean, the whole ship gets frosty, so I'm sure a little bit of frosting on the plumbing in comparison is kind of insignificant.
Yeah, I don't think there's really an issue. It's more so that they just use a lot of the liquid nitrogen in order to chill down those pipes before they pump, the liquid oxygen or the methane through them. So inherently, there's some waste that goes into that. I think for the most part, you're still going to have that chill down process. It's just that being the vacuum jacketed in certain places, it may keep the pipe at the right temperature longer if there's not propellant, flowing through it, or if it is, it would potentially reduce boil off while they're actually piping the propellant into the vehicles. Because as it's going from the tank farm to the vehicles, it technically can warm up, and that's why we see venting a lot of times when the vehicles are being filled or before and after. So as it's boiling off, it's creating some of the vapor. So it may affect a little bit of that, but I think it would be pretty. It probably wouldn't be noticeable.
I get what you're saying. Thanks. Yep, just to save a little bit of the nitrogen, a little bit of oxygen in actual cooling. Fair enough.
All right. Moody Blues asks, for the deluge, will there finally be a water tower?
That is a speculation, but we're not sure. We have no way to answer that question. We're still not sure what this dewatered section here is for, but more than likely, I'm going to say more than likely not, but it's definitely a possibility, I guess.
Wouldn't we have some literature in the environmental impact study that would kind of outline that? I don't think we have anything like that.
No. Historically, SpaceX seems to like these pressure-fed deluge systems. Um, maybe they're more controllable. Not entirely sure. I mean, they use them for Falcon 9. They use them at McGregor. Obviously they're using them here now in multiple instances. So I don't think we'll see a water tower. If anything, we'll see something that's more of like a hybrid of what we have here at Pad A and at Massey's.
Yeah, I agree. Hybrid or just a little bit improved from what they learned at Massey's to what they learned from here. They're just the different steps of improvement that they go through. But I don't think we'll see a tower myself. But still early to say for sure. But I'm with Ryan on this.
Yeah, I think the only reason they used the one at 39A is because it was already there and built into the system.
Yep, I agree with Ryan there as well. Thank you.
Yep, works for me. Liam Donald asks, is there a max distance the vehicle can be away from the hippos? Will they put new hippos closer to Launch Pad 2?
Yeah, well, I believe so. I think it's practically more practical to put a second set of pumps and hippos in.
I think the big thing to consider, so the fluids bunker, they're on the right for Pad A. The pipes basically come in and then they separate them with some valve systems. And then when they go under the berm here, they're actually already split for either the launch mount and the tower. So if they were to tap off of this location, they'd technically kind of be hurting themselves. Of course, they have made changes more recently where there's kind of some separate lines coming from the pumps so that they can control the tower and the launch mount separately. But if they were to reuse all of that same systems, they'd basically have to run double the pipes all the way over to pad B. So in this instance, it makes a little more sense to have more chillers over here to the left, have more pumps over here to the left, and then you can really optimize what you're going to do in regards to fueling the vehicles. I mean, we may see an even bigger improvement with fueling speed if they say they double the amount of pumps, which sounds crazy, but maybe they could. They may be able to fuel the vehicle even faster.
Agreed. Plus, if they wanted to add a second tank farm in the future, then they could really go for a true redundancy by having those second set of pumps and subcoolers.
So I think we've got to mention the 2 new tanks at Sanchez. I guess we'll see them coming here sooner or later, probably after when they do the upgrades, they may put some more methane tanks in here. It does make a lot more sense, like Ryan's saying, to have more pumps over this side. And they've definitely got the electrical for it. There's plenty of electricity over at this site. Like I said just earlier, there's the main power here, and there's a lot of conduits underground to these bolts. And then from these bolts, there's a lot of conduits sitting just underground here, ready to go. So I'd say that it almost indicates a lot of power is going to get used in this area, which sort of indicates a new set of pumps as well, a second set of pumps.
All right. Kal-El asks, do we have more capacity now or less capacity for commodities like oxygen, nitrogen, and methane?
As far as I know, these nitrogen and oxygen tanks can hold more as they are than what these nitrogen and oxygen tanks used to hold. Not by much, but I believe it's a little bit more capacity in these as it is.
I think with the last 2 bullet tanks for the liquid oxygen there, they'll basically be at some margin over what they had before. So it'll be like a 1.5 or whatever multiple from what they had before.
Which gives them the ability to do an abort and a reset without having to bring tankers in, I think. Is that correct?
It kind of misleading. I think technically they would still need to bring in tankers. I'm not sure if they have enough liquid nitrogen in order to do that, because you've got to do the chill process and everything else. Possibly, but I think that for the most part they could probably do back-to-back tests fairly quickly. Maybe not launch rehearsals.
Cool.
All right, along those same lines, Moody Blues asks for all of us with OCD across the land, why did they place the last tank further away?
Not only further away, but it's also slightly crooked.
Yeah, wait till they do the next one, Moody Blues. It's probably going to be crooked the other way. They do it because they love to troll us. That is, I think, I'm still positive that. I bet money it's going to be crooked the other way when they put the last one in.
There's is it this way? That way, slightly bigger gap there than there, I think we worked out.
Yeah, it sure seems like it to me. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think whoever put the footings in maybe didn't align them with how they were expecting, which is part of the reason why the connections are at a little bit of an angle, because they were anticipating those pipes basically coming perpendicular, and then they didn't.
I see. If it had been this close, these would actually be straight. And what was the question? Why? The answer to the why is SpaceX. Because.
Works for me. Trent Talenko, much earlier in the stream, says, question for the end of the stream, can we have a short summary of the observed SpaceX hurricane preparations?
Well, some of the observed things I've already mentioned, with the cranes being put in Star Factory, these cranes being laid down, the one at Massey's being laid down, and the 2 at the office building have been laid down as well. I think most of the preparations, there's things like they've moved things out of the way, they've crushed articles that are going to be a wind hazard. As we've been going through the whole presentation today, we've actually pointed out quite a few bits and pieces to do with in preparation. There's lots of things moved out of the way and put under cover.
Yeah, they put ship 31 in Mega Bay 2. It's still on the puck shucker, although they may actually lift that ship up and put it on top of the work stand to do work on the engines. Maybe you have to wait and see if they do that. But there's also some indications that they may actually move the booster transport stand into Mega Bay 1 to ride out the storm. That way it's ready for right after the storm passes. They can maybe roll out booster 12.
All right, James Wilson asks, would Starbase have the capacity to do 2 launches in one day?
Not yet, perhaps in the future. But of course, and it's going to be quite a while, because as soon as Launch Pad B is up and running, they're going to decommission Launch Pad A and do a major upgrade, which may even include pulling the whole OLM down and totally redoing this whole base. I'm not sure they're going to do a lot to the tower. Perhaps they're going to move the QD a little bit. So it's going to be, yeah, perhaps in the future. I mean, there's also they can launch from Kennedy and here on the same day. There's quite a few different possibilities that could happen in the future. But in the short term, definitely not.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit before they get to the point where they're launching multiple times, probably even per week. They'll definitely need more tank storage and honestly more input supply if they want to launch more than probably once a week.
For sure. Crane Man asks, could the wider gap between the tanks be for more recondensers or a retention wall?
They don't need a sorry. So I was just giggling because they made this gap. That's a good question. I wasn't laughing at the question. I was just laughing at why it's there. These tanks don't need a retention wall. The methane tanks do need a retention wall. So, and I think they've got all evaporators in there. So I think someone else was just about to say something, please.
Yeah, I think it had to do more with the CFA piler that they use to drill the piles versus anything else.
So because there was a tank here already, you're saying they need a little bit of clearance for the piling machine to come in?
Yeah, we've seen when that thing's doing the piles, it kind of, the drilling rig itself, the derrick kind of goes back and forth while it's drilling.
That's a good
So it has a
question.
lot of play.
That's a good question. It sounds like a decent answer. I mean, there's a gap here we couldn't explain either.
We got time for one final question, which I did miss earlier, and I apologize to X. Being that OLM1 is water-cooled, do you think they're moving to a flame trench due to complexity of the water-cooled plates, or due to timing of building, or even due to reliability?
There's a couple of chains of thought. I'll let Ryan continue after I finish. AH was talking to me. The plate had one major disadvantage is it has a bit of trouble dissipating the pressure, and having a flat surface, it tends to rebound the energy straight back up, where a flame trench, or as Ryan's saying, a flame diverter, is a bit more efficient at getting rid of the exhaust plume from out from underneath the engines. That's as far as my technicality goes. Want to add to that, Ryan?
Yeah, I think there's maybe two big issues with it's probably a lot, but maybe focus on two issues with the current launch mount. There's really not an efficient way to cool the top deck surface without adding a bunch of hardware to the top, which will then be exposed. And then you're basically chasing your tail in terms of trying to cool that top deck. Now, regarding the plate underneath, I think for the most part, it's actually working as well as they imagined, but it's exposing another flaw, which is that the legs are made out of a material that can't stand up to the heat. And now that the water cooling effect from the plate as it's pushing the plume out and distributing the heat. It's basically, causing it to melt the legs. We've seen the legs melting between launches, and they go in there and they weld up cracks. So I think what they're doing is as they fix one issue, they're exposing another issue, and they're kind of chasing around, trying to fix and design around all of these issues, which for the most part is exactly what this pad was designed for, was, chasing issues and figuring out how to fix them. So I think a lot of the issues they've discovered with this pad are going to be implemented, or that the solutions are going to be implemented on the next pad. I'm still not entirely sure if there's going to be a like a sloped deflector. I'm at this point, I think there's probably a 60% chance there's still a flat plate underneath it, especially if it's going to be a multi-directional diverter, trench, whatever you want to call it. So I think we'll have to wait and see as the foundation starts to take more shape over at Pad B to determine, I guess, how many, exits is this actually going to have, and is it going to have a flat base? Are they going to be digging down more in one area than not in another? Because that'll also kind of tell us some additional information. But overall, we kind of have to keep in mind that it's not just about making it function, it's about making it rapidly reusable. And so you have to factor in some other things into that, in terms of the rocket can be reusable, but the launch pad also has to be reusable. So that's kind of one of the big issues that the pad A has, is that it's not entirely reusable given how many consumables they go through. I know Zach is working on a video, or has been, regarding maybe some of the issues that Pad A has. So I'll kind of leave a lot of those for his video when he gets around to releasing that.
Spoiler
Oh,
alert.
can't wait for that video. What was your spoiler alert, Lawrence? Are we spoilering alert?
That was my comment to Ryan.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan. That's a good, very good explanation.
I was going to
Thank
say
you.
that it's not a reliability issue. It's like Ryan was saying, it's a durability issue. Even in some of the reports we saw, the main deck has a wear, a nominal amount of wear per launch. So they are expecting that to wear down, and that definitely doesn't be conducive for a good reusability and keep going if they have to pull that out. We know that was a major process putting it in. So I think it's just mainly durability rather than reliability, because it is working much better, but it's eating itself alive down there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And right now, I think if they can get it down to a 2-week turnaround versus a month to 2 months, they'd be very happy with that at this point.
Well, I can't wait to see that new video from Zach. We'll have to keep a close eye on CSI Starbase for that. Thank you very much.
All right, well, that's all the time we got for today, so I guess we can go ahead and start our sign-off.
Okay, we'll start with Todd. Thank you very much for joining us today, Todd.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always a blast. I always have a great time doing it. Thank you, everybody, for your support, helping keeping RGV in the air. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff on your way out. We want to get this out there to more people. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you, Todd. And thank you, Lawrence, for your time today.
Thank you, Steph, Joe, Ryan, Todd. Thank you, RGV team, and thank you all for joining us for another great show.
And Ryan, it's always a huge pleasure having you on the show with your technical knowledge and your intimate knowledge of Starbase with all your animations. You know so much about these things. It's ridiculous. Good on you. Thank you so much for joining us today and for your input.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks to the RGV community and everybody who helps keep Mauricio in the air. It's these photos definitely help us understand a lot more about these systems here, and overall, they help document something that hopefully one day will be something that our kids and future generations look at as kind of like the beginning of something really special in terms of space flight. So it's a really nice thing to be able to have these for the future. So thanks for having me.
No problem. And I'll sign off myself. Like I said, I'm Stephanie B from Australia. I really appreciate the opportunity to do these shows and have wonderful commentators with me. And I'll leave it to Astro Joe to sign off. Thank you. And I'm just going to quickly thank Jen and Emmeline for all the work they do in the background as well.
I do agree with all of that sentiment, and I have nothing to add, so I will go ahead and say most engines cut off, hot staging confirmed. Love you, bye.